Serving Amherst and Amherst Township, your hometown television station, Amherst City Cable.
Well, hello, sports fans. Welcome to the Sports Show. I'm your host, Ty House, along with the big homie,
Alex Squares. How you doing, Ty?
I am awesome as always.
You are always awesome.
We got NBA in full effect, NFL in full effect, college playoffs coming up shortly.
Real
we
soon.
got NCAA in full effect. We got some Major League Baseball moves taking place.
I know.
Hockey's going on, which I don't know nothing about, but I'm excited
that,
about
hockey?
it. Yes, the NHL.
NHL. Huh.
I mean, but let's kick things off on today's show talking about.
Well, first of all, let's kick off by congratulating Corey Kluber on the
You-
Cy Young. We
you
haven't
called
seen you
it.
since then.
You
we
called it.
called it on the show that he was going to win it because we're a team.
Yep.
We're a team.
But it was his notion because I was clueless as to who he even was.
You know, you figured he wasn't going to get it just because, you know, the name he was
Kluber.
going up against. You know,
Yeah, he
going
was
up
going against Felix.
Big Felix, you know, oh yeah, Felix. It's Felix. He's going to win it,
It's
right?
Felix.
Yeah, it's Felix.
Felix
no,
the
Corey
feline.
Kluber. Congratulations.
Salute to you, sir. Now let's turn that Cy Young into something next year here in Cleveland.
Well, we'll probably turn him into a couple prospects when we send him to New York, but just joking.
So does that mean that Cleveland is the New York minor league team?
Well, I feel like almost every team that isn't the Yankees is their minor league team. But, you know, just historically, you know, Cliff Lee wins a Cy Young. We ship him away. CeCe wins a Cy Young. It's just been a running joke. But hopefully Kluber can stick around.
Cleveland is a hot spot. It's the place to be.
It is, and that's another thing working in their favor. You know, it's the
Got
quote
the
unquote,
Browns 7-4.
right?
We got Cleveland with the Cavaliers with a bunch of hype.
Yeah, bunch of
That's
hype.
bunch of hype.
Hasn't translated into wins yet, but we'll see.
So I mean, it's
Man,
definitely a good time to be in the area.
I'm thinking David Blatt might not know what the hell he's doing.
If they don't get to putting some wins together, I mean, you know, I say this because if you go back 4 years, we said the same thing about Spoelstra.
It's true.
First 10, 11 games of the season, I don't think Spoelstra is the coach for this job. And,
Yeah.
you know, next thing you know, they ran off 13, 14 straight. And he got 3 championships.
Yeah.
And, you know, the story goes on. So, I mean, I'm giving him to at least the halfway point, at least the All-Star break
Yeah.
to get things together. It shouldn't take you that long to figure things out
Right.
with the caliber.
Right. I mean, I think it'd be irresponsible for us to write him off before then. But you're right. Like something's gonna have to happen soon because
I mean, because this is Cleveland, and they is starving for a championship, and you will get canned.
he has to understand that. And with Tyrone Lue being the associate head coach, being a guy that reportedly a lot of the guys are gravitating towards, you know.
James Posey sitting on the bench.
I mean, it could become just almost too easy to get rid of him if he continues to not put good, you know, wins in the win column.
And I think it all starts with motivating LeBron. LeBron has not been playing inspired, and they keep trying to make it seem like he's trying to teach these younger guys
I know.
how to be competitive,
I think
and
it's
this
a
is what
cop-out.
it takes. Yes, it's
Yeah.
a cop-out. He needs to be. I'm going to tell you something, man, and this might be scary to everybody in Cleveland, but LeBron hasn't been the same since he had the mysterious leg cramps in the NBA Finals of last year, which could be a reason, you know, why he wanted to return home.
Yeah, it could also be nothing.
He hasn't been high flying.
Well, I mean, you see him pregame. He's always got that heat pack on his back.
See?
That's another issue.
He hasn't been high flying.
And another thing is, and I don't know that he ever will be again. You know, in the fashion that he was. You know, he was just so mean and powerful how he would go to the rim. But
I haven't seen none of that. I've seen a lot of dipsy do layups. Like, come on, man, you 6'9", 6'8".
A lot of loafing too. You know, not just on offense, but on defense as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Pouting and it's been a lot of.
And again, it's really easy just to say that he's teaching the young kids how to play.
That's not how you
but
teach
that's,
them.
I
Oh my goodness, let's hurry up and get off this subject because we could spend the whole 30 minutes talking about this
Rivalry week
Cavalier.
in college football.
I mean, and we got to go off last week's power rankings or college football rankings, playoff rankings, whatever you want to call them.
Because we'll find out the new ones tonight.
In a couple of hours. But as of last week, the rankings went Alabama number 1, as I was saying.
Yes.
Oregon, I don't understand why they still number 2. It's a bunch of hype there. Florida State number 3. I don't understand that neither because how are you defeated for 2 straight years and in defending national championship and you have fallen 2 spots.
Yeah.
And then rounding off, you have Mississippi State who lost to Alabama and only fell to 4.
That we got an argument a few weeks ago about Mississippi State specifically and how you didn't think that they were any good. I'm starting to come around on that because who have they played?
They stunk.
You know, who have they played? They haven't really played anybody.
Nobody.
And then they play Alabama, who Alabama has,
Alabama is the team in the SEC. But that's the measuring stick.
That's true. They're the best team in my opinion, the best conference. But I still, they've played down to a lot of opponents and haven't looked like the Alabama, the Alabama of old with just the unstoppable running game, the unpunishable run defense.
Alabama of old. They have Lane Kiffin as the offensive coordinator, who is more of he's a pro set offensive type of guy, but he wants to run a spread pro set, throw the ball more, and that's like you just said, that's really not Alabama's thing, even though they have produced some great wide receivers.
Right.
They want to run it down your throat behind a big, powerful offensive line, and they just, they're getting more athletic and trying to step into what's going on here in the future.
Yeah, it's like they forgot what conference they're in.
But they're still the best of the best in that conference. And that's why I couldn't understand why they had to beat Mississippi State to go from 5 to 1.
Yeah, right. And
Wait.
Ole Miss, Arkansas last week.
What? Arkansas has the best defense.
And that's what I was going to say, is that a lot of that, a lot of it you want to point to say, see, those Mississippi teams weren't any good to begin with. But
they weren't. It wasn't that they weren't any good.
Really well.
It wasn't that they weren't any good. It's just that they were typical Mississippi teams.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mississippi always have pretty decent teams, and the hype machine got behind them this year.
They really did this year.
And the hype machine. You beat up Auburn, and Auburn wasn't really that good. LSU proved to not really be that good. Alabama is that deal in the SEC. That's who you are measured by.
Well, given that we have the Iron Bowl this weekend, and
which really doesn't matter.
It could matter for Alabama if they lose.
I don't see Alabama losing to Auburn.
I don't see it either. But
this
I
is
could
going to
see
be
it.
a revenge game. You are going to see Alabama. This is a hood word. Mollywop.
Mollywop?
Mollywop.
I'm going to use that now.
Auburn.
I'm going to use that. No one's going to know what I mean.
I'm talking, you might see a 40-point beatdown. They ain't going to give it no opportunity. I'm going to tell you.
It's the Iron Bowl.
Do you realize what happened in last year's Iron Bowl? Alabama came into that Iron Bowl undefeated. Kicked a field goal at the end of the game and lost. Was embarrassed. Weren't they in Alabama?
Yeah.
Yeah. This year, beat down city.
I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but just like the same way how we were talking about Ohio State, Michigan before the show, how Ohio State's much better than Michigan, but Michigan's going to give it everything that they have because it's the one thing they can do to save their season is to ruin Ohio State's season. If you don't think Auburn has that same mindset,
right? Maybe they do. But fresh on Alabama's mind is the opportunity that they lost. Alabama is supposed to be seeing Alabama, Florida State last year.
Yeah.
And Alabama was supposed to beat Florida State last year.
They certainly can revenge that.
You know why? Because of a fluke. You don't think Alabama's going to be upset about that?
That game was tied.
It was a fluke.
That game was tied when that happened.
It was a fluke still.
It was a fluke play, but the game was tied.
It was still a fluke.
The Browns almost got one of those from Devin Hester over the weekend. That was just stupid.
Oh my goodness. But we got to talk about on the outside looking in. We can't just focus on those 4 teams.
I know, but I have a team
because like you
for
say, a couple of these teams is in upset alert. You just put Alabama on upset alert.
That's what I'm saying. We're going to see an upset this weekend, I think.
Mississippi State is on upset alert.
Right. We're either one of them. Alabama, Florida State could lose. I think Florida State's going to lose no matter what. I think they're going to lose to Florida this weekend. Florida's been playing really, really good, and it seems like Florida State loafs around the first half, and then pretty much every game they play. And then the second half, they remember, like, oh yeah, we're Florida State. We haven't lost in 2 years. We're just loaded with blue chip talent throughout this roster, and then they decide to start playing. I don't think it's going to fly with Florida, but even if it does, and they do beat Florida, they have to watch out for Georgia Tech, because Georgia Tech, nobody wants to face that offense right now. It's almost impossible to defend. And then you have the Iron Bowl this weekend, which you think is going to blow up, but I think it's going to be a really good game that Auburn has a chance to win. There's going to be one of these top 4 teams is going to lose, in my opinion, which is going to open up the door for somebody else, and I'll tell you who I think it's going to be.
The only team that's going to lose this weekend is Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl.
That's all that has to happen.
The Egg Bowl.
It's going to open up the door for someone.
It's the Egg Bowl.
Why is it called that?
What is the Egg Bowl?
I'm sure there's a long, drawn-out story, but...
How come the SEC got bowl games before bowl games?
Yeah, they do, don't they?
Because they weird. Mm-hmm. It's a special conference down there.
Because they're weird.
Yeah.
They have their own special rules.
Yeah, they weird. Mm-hmm. On the outside looking in, we got TCU, which none of us agree with.
Right.
The Ohio State University, the Big Ten's only opportunity to get into this playoff. Baylor. Mississippi, I don't understand why they still there.
They won't be after tonight.
And a surprise team, which I think may, if it's going to be a two-loss team sneak into the playoffs. UCLA.
Ding, 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 ding. That's what I was going to say, man.
UCLA.
If they revenge that loss to Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game, because a lot of people consider Pac-12 to be the second best conference in the nation. I would say that's probably, that's obviously
they
not.
only go 3 teams.
Well, either way. If they beat them, they're going to get in. And Florida State loses, or Mississippi State loses. If Alabama loses, they still could drop to 4. I could see that happening. I wouldn't agree with it, but I could see it. But UCLA, they have talent all over that team. They're just now hitting their stride. They have a very, very, very good quarterback in Brett Hundley, and they
was a Heisman Trophy candidate at the beginning of the season.
If they beat Oregon, I think they're in.
Definitely got to be in.
With 2 losses.
I mean, you still would need some things to happen, like the Mississippi State stuff, crap. And then you're going to have to, if you beat Oregon, sitting at number 2, could be number 1 if, like you say, Alabama lose to Auburn.
Right.
And you beat Oregon, you got to put them in there.
I agree.
The other thing about it is, you see, a team could be number 1 and lose and only fall to 4 and still be in the playoff, which is like.
I mean, we saw it last week.
It's getting really, really, really hectic. One note before we get to the basketball, we got to get ready to wrap it up, take a break. Did you know in last week's CFB Selection Committee poll, there were 6 Big Ten teams ranked in the top 25 more than any other conference? Let's take a break. Come back, we'll talk some NCAA basketball. This is the Sports Show.
Our town, our TV. Amherst City Cable.
So, I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
Oh, look, a redhead. Staring contest. You still got it. I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
You were looking right at us. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Serving Amherst and Amherst Township, your hometown television station, Amherst City Cable.
Welcome back to the sports show. I made a boo-boo before we went to the break. It's only 5 Big Ten teams
Still
ranked in the
most.
top 25. Tied with the SEC.
Tied with
5
the
and
SEC.
5.
Right.
But
Just get that out of the way.
we in there. Another little tad bit. The Egg Bowl.
Yes.
We found out it's called the Egg Bowl because back in the 20s, the crazy Mississippi fans were whooping each other after the games, and they came up with the golden egg to keep the fans from fighting. Henceforth, the Egg Bowl.
Right, like they hate each other, right? They get in fights after the games, and then all of a sudden, like, all right, guys, we got this golden egg that we'll give. So can we cut it out? And they're just like, okay.
They better come up with some kind of trophy for Ferguson.
All right, this is a sports show. Let's talk sports.
Let's talk about the NCAA rankings.
Basketball.
Basketball is in full effect. We got all the way to March. We usually don't talk about it till it get busy, but I wanted to, touch in on it.
Yeah.
There's some pretty good teams out there.
Let's
Let's just run down the top 25 AP. We got number 1, Kentucky. Number 2, you love Wisconsin Badgers basketball.
Always do.
Sitting there at number 2, looking real nice.
Bo Ryan.
Number 3, Arizona. Number 4, Duke. Number 5, North Carolina. Number 6, Louisville. Number 7, Texas. Number 8, Virginia. Number 9, Wichita State. Number 10, Gonzaga. The other Big Ten teams are Ohio State at 16, 19, Michigan, 20, Michigan State.
Michigan lost some talent. They played really well in the tournament last year, but they lost some talent, which was a shame. What was the kid's name? Levert, I believe, Karis Levert. They returned. He's going to be a star for them. But outside of that, the only Big Ten team I'm really going to take real seriously is Wisconsin.
I beg to differ.
Of course.
You can never count out Tom Izzo.
No, certainly not.
You can never count out the Mata guy.
Yeah, I can.
Thad Mata.
He is so ugly. Isn't he?
I don't know. Him and Beeline is they racing each other. It's kind of like that George Washington race around the baseball.
Yeah, right.
President's race.
But a team that I'm excited about this year. I think you said they were ranked 7th, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited about Texas this year. They've had disappointing few years. The past 3-4 years or so, but they have one thing that you have to have in order to win a national championship, a college basketball championship, and that's size. They have tremendous size. They have great rebounders. They're physical, and as long as they stay healthy, that's going to go a long way for them because they have good guard play as well.
Mm-hmm. A team that's going to shock a lot of people is SMU.
Yeah, I mean they played really, really, really well. They got snubbed last year, did they not?
That's a team coached by Larry Brown.
Yeah.
And this team is dangerous.
Yeah.
This team is extremely dangerous, man. They got some shooters. Mm-hmm. They play defense. And they're going to sneak up on a lot of people. To me, I think they're going to be the Wichita State of this year.
I can see that.
But the class of the NCAA.
There's one team.
And it's one team. Mm-hmm. It's unfair.
And that's the thing, is that we talk about all the other teams, how they're going to surprise people. We don't think they're going to win.
Yeah, it's only one team. It's unfair that this one team is actually 2 teams on the one team.
And because they actually return guys.
This Kentucky team, which is ranked number 1, plays in platoons. Mm-hmm. They play in waves.
Yeah.
They put in 5 different McDonald's All-Americans at a time. Mm-hmm. Nobody on this team is averaging over 10 points, yet this team is averaging 90 points a game.
Right. It's weird. It's a really weird thing. But if you can do it.
It's frustrating. If you
okay.
are a fan of any other program,
yeah,
it's frustrating because it's like...
It's true, but I mean, what are you supposed to do? You know, what are you supposed to do?
What is in Kentucky?
They have some really nice vineyards in Kentucky. They truly do, and the caves are really, really cool too.
I mean, but if you a basketball player from the inner city and you a Mr. Basketball, What's in Kentucky?
It's true. It's true.
Calipari, that's it.
Yeah. Is he?
He the only thing in Kentucky.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. I mean, I wouldn't want to go to Kentucky, but you're gonna have to talk to John Calipari about that because he's doing a great job. There's got to be something.
He must got some masseuse,
I was gonna say,
some
there's
massage
gotta be,
parlors or something in Kentucky,
there's something
man.
fishy going on there because I never even thought about it in that way. Just like,
I mean, I understand the whole little, Calipari is a pipeline to the NBA. It's almost a guarantee that if you are a top player for him, that you're going to the NBA. So I understand that, but
they also play in an anti-Semitic arena.
Right.
So that can't help their cause. There has to be something going on there that's drawing kids.
This team has, if these kids were all on a separate team, this team has the first 10 picks in next year's draft.
I think that's a stretch.
Okay.
I think that's absolutely a stretch.
Maybe a little stretch. But all 10 of these kids can be picked in the first round of next year's draft.
Absolutely. And it's not fair that they're returning kids now. Because they're going to have the top recruiting class every year, it seems. Now, when they're actually returning kids, we watched a lot of college basketball last year. Those Harrison twins, Aaron, Andrew, I don't know which one is which. They look exactly the same. They do the same things on the court. I don't know who the hell is who. But those kids from the beginning of the season to
one
the
of them
tournament,
is a little bit more defensive oriented than the other one.
Right, maybe. But they looked like completely different players from the beginning of the season to the end. Both of their games became so polished, and then they return the big hippie, they call him, Willie Cauley-Stein, Dakari Johnson, who's a guy who came in towards the end of the season last year, and he was playing out of his mind. He was playing in the absence of Willie Cauley-Stein, who went down last year, and they didn't miss a beat. And they also returned Alex Poitras for his 11th season.
And those are just the kids that they returned.
And that's not all the blue chip freshmen that they have, too.
That's not to even mention the best. You haven't even mentioned who's the best
kid,
freshman on their team.
The 7-footer?
The Fox kid. The 7-footer.
Yeah.
I mean, you got returning sophomores that were McDonald's All-Americans coming off the bench.
Right.
Because you have this freshman coming in. It's frustrating.
And that's the thing. And of course, their shiny new toy, Fox, he's another 7-footer.
Man.
So now their size is just ridiculous.
These dudes have more McDonald All-Americans on Kentucky's team than the entire Big Ten Conference put together.
What are you going to do about it, man?
I'm launching an investigation. It's got to be something. They paying something's going on down there. I don't understand how one man can attract all of this talent. I mean, nobody's playing over 20 minutes.
Right.
Nobody's averaging 17 points a game. Nobody's up for Player of the Year. How are you getting all these young, talented guys to buy into the team system for 1 to 2 years? It's amazing.
You have to imagine. You have to imagine that there's something weird going on. You really do, because and you hit on it because it's something I had never thought about before. Is that Calipari's not getting all these kids to come to New York or to come to Los Angeles or somewhere cool, to Kentucky.
I know it's some history. and it's some tradition in Kentucky, and I don't know, man. I mean, maybe you go down there and it's so quiet that you can't get in no trouble, peace of mind, and sit out and, like you say, watch the cows graze. And
I don't know. Is that what a 17 or 18-year-old kid from the hood would like to do?
Read poetry and pick grass.
Willie Cauley-Stein's into that kind of stuff. He's a really, really good painter, actually.
See? These are special kids. Kentucky is in the SEC, too.
Yeah.
Special conference.
Yeah.
Short bus kids. Let me stop.
Okay, goodness.
Allegedly. but I mean,
the SEC basketball program doesn't get that same bias.
Right. It doesn't. It's just Kentucky.
And mainly because it's not as good.
I mean, Duke and North Carolina are usually the programs that get these top-notch schools, but not no more. They go into Kentucky, and it's fascinating that Wisconsin is doing it without. They're number 2,
right?
Without any.
Well, their success. I mean, I think a lot of that is predicated off the previous year and what they were able to do. But
They got some shooters.
Yeah, they absolutely have shooters, and they still have the big man and the
Kaminsky.
system. In the system. The system, it's an excellent system. It really, really is. It's
evolved because it used to be a defensive system. It's more of an offensive system now.
Right, and it still is. Don't get it twisted. It still is a defensive system. And that's the thing is that when you play for Bo Ryan, you play defense. Everyone plays defense. So it's not really a point of emphasis because it's assumed that they're all going to play not only individual defense but very good team defense as well. But the offense and the way it's ran in Wisconsin these days it's beautiful. It's an art form. It really truly is.
Another couple of teams in the top 25 that I'm interested in keeping an eye on. You know, you got Kansas, which were in the top 4 till they got demolished by Kentucky. Kansas was top 4 team and were just overwhelmed by this Kentucky team. But you got Villanova. Yeah. Jay Wright has an outstanding program there in Villanova.
Yep.
They wiped the map with VCU last night.
Yeah.
Yes, they did beat them by 25 points. I was really impressed because, VCU applies pressure from the beginning of the game to the end of the game.
From the beginning of the court to the end of the court.
No, from the end of the game to that too.
Both, yeah.
So I'm interested tonight to see how Michigan and Villanova play.
Yeah.
That'd
be a good barometer.
And they're in Madison Square Garden. So another team I want to watch out for is San Diego State.
Yeah. They definitely return some. They are just flat out rude defensively. That team is, and they can score too. So
they played a good double overtime game against BYU last night, and really didn't pull away till the second overtime, last few minutes of the game. But like you say, they are defense. They're stout.
Oh yeah, and they're going to struggle to score at times, but that defense is going to keep them in a lot of games.
And they got a freshman. I can't think of his name right now, but he's going to be something special. Definitely going to be something special. Real quick. Let me see if I can get some NBA power rankings before we have to get out of here.
We're up against it.
For maybe not. Maybe we'll just tease it for next week. NBA power rankings, NFL power rankings. My Lions lost to the New England Patriots. Bad.
Yeah.
But I expected us to go into this 2-game losing streak.
But what's going on with that offense? Before Calvin came back, I blamed it on Calvin not being there. And now Calvin's back, and I don't have anything to blame it on.
I don't have any answers.
The running
game.
I don't have any answers.
They didn't have a running game last year.
Yeah, we had a 1,000-yard rusher last year.
Still.
And
a 1,000-yard rusher isn't anything these days.
Well, if that's the case, don't nobody got a running game. We got to get out of here. We'll talk a little bit more about it next week when I'll be feeling a little bit better and want to talk a little bit more about the NFL because we're going to mollywop those Chicago Bears this Thursday for Thanksgiving. That's going to happen. So we'll talk about that next week. Cleveland is 7-4, just like my Detroit Lions. Way to go, Browns. Keep it up. Come on, Lions, get it together. That way we can have this Erie Lake Super Bowl.
Lake Erie.
Erie Lake. It's an Erie Lake.
I'm ready to see.
I know it's Lake Erie, but it's an Erie Lake.
I'm ready to see John Paul football.
He said who? John Paul?
John Paul football.
Hey, I watched Draft Day yesterday. You seen that?
No.
Oh, man, he pulled off a fabulous deal. Go for it, Cleveland. I'm a fan. We out of here till next week. This is a sports show. That's
Alex Squire.
And I'm Ty House. Peace.
Our town, our TV. Amherst City Cable.